Hello and welcome to Business Reporter's Industrial Innovations campaign. I'm Alistair Greener. What are the most common mistakes that companies make when they buy AI-powered software? And what can they do to avoid these pitfalls? That's what we're discussing today with Wolf Ruzicka, Chairman of Eastbank Technologies. Wolf is a technology industry veteran with more than 20 years of experience helping clients to deal with the challenges of AI. Good morning, Wolf.
Good morning.
Why are companies finding it a challenge to maximize the benefits of AI today?
Well, there's really a handful of challenges. One is that the lack of penetration of these various AI systems. You start at the top and they never really quite trickle down to the core of your business where the data lies, where the math needs to be applied. And even if you manage to penetrate at least a majority of your organization's systems with the appropriate AI systems, you then have the challenge of interconnectivity, where data needs to be exchanged from one system that has understood something about your consumer for the other system to be able to share that knowledge that was just learned in one part of your organization and apply that in another part of the organization, so that lack of exchange. And even if you solve those two factors, you are very challenged to actually scale that in order to fulfill all these different consumers, very individual requests of your products and services. So three challenges that together are almost insurmountable for your typical organization today.
What's the typical approach to fixing this problem?
So the typical approach that organizations take is that they try to find one technology vendor, one software company, one of those famous cloud vendors to come in and fix this problem once and for all with one big swoop. So you then end up with typical top-down directed approaches that never quite reach the core of your organization, the foundation of your organization where the data lies. You end up with massive amounts of money spent, a lot of executive time invested, and big budgets wasted. Because ultimately, what you really need to understand is that this core of this problem lies in the core of your business, not that technology vendor's business. Instead of having this technology bias, you need to own up to the fact that you need to own your own destiny if you want to become that artificially intelligent bank or this artificially intelligent media company. So therefore, you need to own the fixing of that problem. And the problem is too fragmented for you to hand it off to one neck to wring. So the solutions have to be much more granular and they have to be owned by you. And that's the big problem that we see in application of artificial intelligence today, day in and day out.
What is Eastbank Technologies and what is your recipe for solving AI implementation issues?
Well, Eastbank Technologies is a software product engineering company. So what that means is we build software products for these types of enterprises. And we sometimes build them for ourselves because they don't exist in the marketplace to our satisfaction in order to solve these problems. Our typical approach towards solving these problems is almost contrary to what I described before. We try to identify whether your architecture that you have inherited or built, those legacy systems, is AI ready. If it is AI ready, which means can we attach granular AI services to these legacy systems that contain the data? We call it an AI readiness assessment. So after the AI readiness assessment, we try to identify one killer feature in the core of what your business does that we will be able to attach an AI service to, some cognitive capabilities to something that is in your core, in the core of your business. So once we jointly have identified that one killer feature that will either make you money, or save lives, we start iterating around that and hardening and broadening that killer feature into what we call a minimal viable prediction. So the most minimal correct prediction of the future around this core function inside of your business. It starts penetrating very organically your entire organization, all the different business applications and business systems that you have as an organization have now the capability to exchange data with what we have just proven to be correct as far as adding cognitive artificial intelligence services to one of your existing data streams.
Can you illustrate your impact on a client's business?
One of my favorite examples is probably one of the largest media companies in the world. When we started engaging with each other, we quickly identified that the killer feature that will start this journey lies in the core of that media company. And the core, the beating heart of that media company is what we call a content management system. A media company generates content, needs to manage it on a systematic level. So that's the core of what they do. And this killer feature that we needed to identify has to lie in that heart of the organization. So we agreed that we're going to surround this existing content management system with lightweight modules, 1 month at a time, that do certain things better than the existing content management system or do certain things differently than the content management system. And some of them, of course, had to deal with data, had to deal with the analyses of content, which then you can use in order to predict what type of content, what type of data might be most applicable for the hundreds of millions of consumers of that content that this media organization is producing. So over time, these modules interconnected, they started exchanging data, and the content management system that had been in place had become irrelevant and was just turned off one of those days. This media company has completed the transformation and has become a software product company that happens to have a newsroom full of reporters, and they are licensing that software that we have jointly created out to the former competitors to the tune of dozens and dozens of millions of dollars a year.
What do you think is in store for AI, and how is it going to impact businesses in the next, say, decade or so?
What we've seen previously is that you have new software companies emerge and disrupt existing industry players. I see that just like the example that I gave you about this media company before, this capability now exists for these existing banks to become the disruptors of their financial industry slice, for these existing retailers to become the disruptors of their retail industry slice.
Wolf Ruzicka, Chairman of East Bank Technologies, thank you very much.
Thank you. Goodbye.